Okay, so for simplicity's sake, I'm going to teach you guys the quickest way to download and play Modern Warfare 2 on your Lenovo Legion Y700. Um, I got this set up, I got this running, and with my current settings, I am running roughly about like an average about 65 to 70 FPS, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes dips down. I'm sure if I were to, max my frame rate, I would get better, performance, but that's besides the point. So let's go ahead and get started. You click download. This is the main IW4X. This is so you can play online and have some of those like anti-cheat protections. There's a lot of servers. There's actually a lot of activity on this game still, so it's really cool. So first things first is you got to download Modern Warfare 2 if you haven't already. Download it, install it, make sure it launches on your PC. So like that, we know that the game is in working condition. So you're going to go ahead and click all the way down here and download for Windows. Um, And then the reason why you're going to want to download for Windows, whether you're on Linux or any other operating system, is because at least with the way that GameNative works, because we are going to be using GameNative, I like the open source aspect of it over GameHub. So you're going to download that. I already have a couple copies of it downloaded. So you're going to download it. You're going to open it up. And the first things first is what we'll do is we're going to open up. Let's see. Let's go to where I actually have the game saved. I'm going to pull that up over here. So I have my gaming games, Modern Warfare 2, and then it's in here. So I am not going to be, as you can see, I have the IW4X launcher in here. I'm not going to be dragging it over, but in that folder that you download, you will have a zip, and then inside that zip, you're going to have this folder. Inside that folder, you're going to have the IW4X launcher. You'd essentially just drag that over, let it copy, and then you go ahead and run it for the first time, which will install a lot of the dependencies needed in the game. So once you're done here, what you're going to do is you're going to have a USB stick, that you can go ahead and transfer over. So what you would do is essentially just grab the entire folder, drag it onto your USB stick, copy it. That's literally it. So we'll go ahead and skip these files, make sure that there's nothing missing. But then once you're done there, you're done on the PC. So once, like I said, you're able to get the game loaded, once you get IW4X running on your PC, and you know that everything's loading, everything's set up properly, then you can go ahead and transfer this over onto your Y700. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and eject this, and go ahead and switch over to the tablet, and I'll show you guys how, what we got to do next on the tablet. Okay, so now that we're on the tablet, we're going to do a couple things. First, file explorer of your choosing. Personally, I like CX File Explorer. I feel like it's just easiest for me to use whenever it comes down to doing this type of stuff. So insert your USB stick. You're going to have it load up. Right. So we're going to have it load up. And then you're going to go on here. You're going to tap your game file. You're going to go copy. And what I did was on my main storage, I went ahead and created a new folder, games, and that's where I put all my games in. So you just go ahead and paste your games in here. Like I said, for simplicity and for speed's sake, I'm not going to do that. So once you're done here, now we're going to head over to, your browser of your choosing. You're going to go down. I'm going to leave the link for the GitHub for GameNative. Now, this is where we're going to get the actual APK for GameNative. Now, this will help us get basically the win later and the emulation language and all that stuff to actually play these games. So you're going to go to how to use, download the latest release, click here. So one thing I did notice, some people may run into this issue, some people may not. I think it's just dependent. A lot of it may also have to do with if you have any type of security on your web browser. I do, so I've actually got to open up my VPN. For some reason, I've been having this issue where I cannot get GameNative to load if I'm not on a VPN. It's going to say this, obviously, so you're going to go ahead and download anyways because you're downloading an APK off the internet. It is safe. I mean, it's an open source project. There's tons of people working on this, and and right now it's in its infancy. To be able to do this, I expect in about 6 months, this is going to be a lot more mature of a project, along with being able to play games on Android, like this PC Steam games, right? So you're gonna click open. You're gonna go ahead and install your game. You want to update? Sure, we'll go ahead and update. And then once you're done, it's installed and everything's open. You obviously have your Modern Warfare 2 in your games folder. Everything is ready for us to get in here and get this game started. So once you got GameNative installed and loaded up, you're not going to have any games. So these are my games here that I have installed on the device, but I'm going to show you guys how to install custom games. So this would be for games that maybe run custom launchers, you know, for that have lost support. In this case, IW4X for Modern Warfare 2. You're going to click this little plus button on the top. You're going to go to, it's going to populate here, and you're going to go to your games folder, and you're going to locate your Modern Warfare 2 folder. Right there, Modern Warfare 2. Use this folder, allow. So it may not auto-populate your the cover art. You could do that by going to the little cog icon options, fetch game images. Going to fetch them, and you're good to go. So after that, we do have to edit the container a little bit to make it load and run properly. So first things first is we're going to go to graphics, because there's not much that I've needed to change to get this to work properly. But what I do is I go to DXVX version. I'm going to change that to async 110.3. Go back to general. I'm going to go to wine version. And I have the best with Proton 10.4, ARM64, EC2. Execution path. We're going to change that to IW4X.exe right here. Screen size, I get the best performance at 1280 by 720, and in all reality you don't have much in my opinion much visual loss. It kind of just reminds me of how I used to play on the 360. You can go ahead and click save on that. So the first launch, if everything is set up properly, it should basically just launch straight into the game. So let's see if that's going to work. All right, so getting this IW4X loading logo is exactly what you want to see. This means that the game is loading up properly. I will say this, depending on the first load, it basically may throw itself into, save boot settings where your resolution, you're going to have to go actually upscale your resolution, because it might just scale it all the way down to the lowest resolution available, which does happen. Sometimes during the initial setup. I don't know if it's going to have saved. Well, clearly it's saved here in my case. So I'm not going to have to do that. But you're able to go through, and if you go under barracks, come on. Well, you're able to change your info, your data. You're able to change your profile. You're able to reset your stats, unlock them. But if you go to options, you'll be able to go here. And what I found with this device, the best options, in my opinion, are going to be, turn that down so it's not picking it up in the microphone. In my opinion, the best is going to be manual. I have texture set to high, normal, aspect ratio. Most of all this stuff, you can look at it right here. But I feel like this is the best. Obviously, resolution 720 by 1080, max FPS set to 85, because it's really not going to go above that. And like I said, you can turn on basically VSync, which is sync every frame, to reduce it from, like, forcing it at 60, which is totally is a valid thing to want to do. So you can go ahead and go click join, and let me just find a map to something that's not. Oh, I don't want to do those because there's a bunch of like trick shotting stuff. A lot of the maps are actually, let's do this one. So when you are logging in, it will do this, especially for the first couple loads, like when you're first getting into games, where it's going to basically increase your security level. It's basically just verifying that you're not either avoiding any type of IP bans or you're not hacking. Is basically like their form of anti-cheat, I guess. I don't really know. This does happen from time to time. I just kind of let it do its thing. I'm not really sitting here worried about it. It will take a few minutes for it to load, so I'm going to get back to you guys once this game starts loading and all that stuff. All right, so now the game is loading, like I said. And then this, for IW4X, it does have controller support. So if you do have a controller, you will be able to play with your controller, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation. does have support. Um, so it has gamepad support, which is really nice. In my case, with the Y700, I do have the G9 controller, which is really nice. So it's basically like the size of a Steam Deck. Um, that's how I've gotten around playing it like this. I feel like it's the best. It really good, really enjoyable like this. So I did notice it does take a little bit to load in. I think that more than anything has to do with just general specs of it. Obviously, if you're playing on any, like, this thing loads instantly on my PC. Um, but yeah, I think it's just more than anything the device. But you will eventually get into the game. Um, and yeah, see, you can 60 frames. I'm getting a really solid 60 frames. Um, like I said, and it will depend on the map too. There's a lot of things that will dictate performance. Um, but you're getting a solid 60. And like I said, it gives me Xbox 360 quality on my little tablet, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so this is how you could play Modern Warfare 2 on your Legion Y700.